Brandon, welcome to
What's up,
Locked In,
dude?
bro. Pleasure having you here. Met you for the first time back in February with Giani when Giani came on the show.
Yeah.
And we hit it off. We were at a dinner, the most random dinner ever.
Dopest dinner. Dopest dinner I've ever been a part of.
But most random dinner ever.
So random. And usually when he hit me up to come, he's like, dude, we got this dinner. You want to come? It's usually bullshit. It's usually like the giant table and like you're at a restaurant where like in this dark corner and no one's having a good time and no one's talking, no one's enjoying each other because that's like, I mean, me and Gianni are obviously having a good time, but like usually in these situations, everyone's kind of like too cool for school type of thing. Everyone's just hanging by themselves. This was an intimate dinner with dope people. We all got to know each other. It was like 7 of us maybe.
Yeah, because the Chase's daughter showed up too. So
and she was one, and I was just like, dude, like, and it's so refreshing because you don't get that a lot of times, man.
yeah, and it was all riding on if Gianni was gonna like me or not when he got here.
Interesting,
Because we didn't invite him until after the pod. It was like, hey, do you want to grab dinner after? And that's when he hit you, and then everything formed together.
Okay.
But we didn't know because we had been talking over text for a few months. But I never met him in person. And then it just clicked. That was such a fun. That was one of my favorite pods. Just talking to him, and because we're alike in a lot of ways, and we're kind of close in age.
For sure. And most East Coast boys. Well, you're not really an East Coast. You're from Wisconsin?
No, I went to prison in Wisconsin.
That's my bad, man.
No, it's okay. I'm in Connecticut, so I'm right next to Giani.
Were you born and raised in
Island.
Connecticut?
New York, I was born, but raised in Connecticut.
And then did prison time in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I was kind of all over. I was in Rhode Island a little bit too.
Okay.
So we share that and connection. But he liked the hockey and the Trashers and everything. That's how the jerseys came about.
Oh yeah.
And then it all worked out. But it was interesting when we met you. We're having this casual conversation, then all of a sudden you get into this. You're a boxer, like we're sitting next to you.
Former
and I'm like,
boxer,
but you had a lot of fights, a lot of matches, and Chevy was so interested.
Yeah, and that was one of the dope things that me and Chevy got to talk about, man. And because he's like my size, I'm sitting down, but I'm 6'4", maybe like 240. So what is Chevy? Got to be like
he's tall too. Yeah.
He's got to be like 6'4", 6'5", and obviously he's probably not walking around at 240. But I'm like, what if, man? What if things get a little tussy here and you and I want to throw down? I think that'd be a fun conversation. We were kind of joking about that, and he was a big fan of boxing, and I'm like a boxing nerd. I could talk about boxing all day long. And I saw, dude, because I was creeping on your Instagram, I saw you had a match.
And it was a while ago.
I saw that you had a match when it happened, like in the present form, like when you were doing that. I'm like,
back in November?
Or maybe when we became homies and I went to your gram, I'm like, oh, sick. Like he had, and you know what that feeling's like.
Yeah.
You know what that feeling's like being backstage or wherever you are. And oftentimes, especially because I fought in the amateur circuit exclusively. I never went professional. That I fought in the amateurs. You're always in some shitty gym. You're always in some shitty gym with some like nonsense going on. And you know what that feeling's like of like, this could go either horribly wrong or fantastically right, and I am scared of both outcomes, to be honest, when I'm going to go out there and fight. And then for me, because that was one.
Yeah, it was like an exhibition. Because my goal was, get into it and then do like a celebrity fight, which I would do if the payday was right.
Who do you want to fight?
I wanted to do Billy McFarland. Because I thought that from Firefest, because our stories are similar.
Honestly,
I thought that would be perfect.
It'd be a good fucking fight.
Yeah.
It'd be a good fight.
But then, he never responded this and that. But ironically, after I met you guys in April, his manager calls me and is like, do you want to do this karate kick? You know that new thing that all the influencers are doing? It's like karate kick something.
I'm not familiar.
I don't know. But I was like, I'm not fucking doing it for pennies. Like, you guys got to pay me to go out there and do it if I'm going to get my ass kicked or whatever,
Yeah, for sure.
So he's doing that. I'm like, I'm over the whole Billy thing. But if there was a celebrity fight, I would box him or someone of like equal value. But I would only do it if the payday was good so I could just pay restitution with it.
Understood.
Like, that's what I would do it for.
Understood.
But I stopped regular boxing because the most important thing I have right now is my mind and my brain.
Yeah.
And getting hit like that, like it took me like a week to recover
Yeah.
after that. But I loved the process. Like, to me, I love a process, the build up.
Dude, when I was fighting, and I was very cavemanish in my fighting. Like I lived and breathed and slept. It was the only thing I cared about. If I wasn't training, I was watching some tape. And if I wasn't watching some tape, I was talking to someone about it. And if I wasn't talking to someone, I was probably sleeping, getting ready to go back into training the next day. But the hits eventually start to take a toll on you. And I think the one thing I was really missing as a boxer, as when I was in my competition days, is I wasn't that tough. I didn't have the hard exterior shell that someone like a Roberto Duran has to his fighting style. Like Roberto Duran will take 2 to give 1, and it's like that math doesn't add up, Roberto Duran. But you hit hard enough, and eventually it does add up. That at the peak of my boxing, writing and talking became a problem for me, man. You know, it became a real issue for me where sentences wouldn't flow out of my mouth the way they used to. Sentences wouldn't flow from my hand the way they used to, and I was well protected. I had a great coach. My father protected me when I was young, you know, because my father was involved in combat sports. Like, I was well protected. As far as like the scale goes of damage taken, I'm on the very low end of it compared to a lot of boxers, and I still felt the effects. So you can imagine what it can be like for someone who was fed to the wolves at a young age and continually fed to wolves, because that's what happens in a lot of boxing gyms. You roll in there, you want to train, you want to fight. They're usually going to use you as some kind of shark bait to get their fighters going, and then once you prove yourself, maybe you'll get to the opportunity to kind of swing, you know, to be in that position to kind of beat up someone a little bit less experienced.
My first time sparring, I sprained my neck.
Yeah,
like that first hit, and then I did a bunch of neck activities, and my neck was good, but that was like I don't like being hit.
Yeah.
Like that's just me. I was always that kid that was like afraid of his own shadow when it came to that.
For sure.
Wasn't the sports guy. I got into sports in like prison.
Yeah.
Like prison
Kinda
basketball. Yeah. It was like longest yard out there getting elbowed in the face. But it just wasn't me. You know, I did musical theater and stuff, but
very interesting.
I wanted to do it, like the boxing thing.
Were you shitting yourself before the fight?
Oh yeah, but I got up there and did it. I'm the type of person that's deathly afraid of heights, but I'll do it.
I'm definitely afraid of heights myself,
Yeah,
but I won't.
But I'll go on the roller coaster.
I won't go. See, that's maybe why. That's the difference between. That's where our trajectories change a little bit.
Because I'm not afraid to take risks, so like I'll do that. But like I don't like open water. I hate snakes. I hate sharks, and I hate and the heights. But I'll do like I went snorkeling in like Puerto Rico a couple weeks ago.
Okay, cool.
And that was like open water, and then like 5 minutes later when we got out, there's a barracuda.
Interesting.
And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, dude.
I'm done.
And I always, it's always been the math that I've done is like, how do I stand in a fist fight? Like, how do I stand in a fist fight with said barracuda? Or when I'm watching a scary movie, like me and my boys are always talking, you know, gee, we actually were just during Halloween. What were we watching? Some movie with Alec Wolff in Hereditary? I don't know, whatever. And there was this ghost, this like demonic ghost that was chasing him. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, if you stand your ground, you start popping a jab out there, I'm just saying you might stand a decent chance. You know, this ghost squares up with you, but obviously that's tongue in cheek because it's never a fair fight. But Scream, you obviously know Scream.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That's just Billy Loomis in a Scream mask, right? And Billy Loomis is the character. He's played by an actor, Skeet, or whatever the guy's name is. And I'm fucking that dude up. 10 out of 10 times. Give him a knife, man. I'm long. I snap my jab while I'm dancing around. He ain't touch me. I don't care how much little daddy issues he got, man. Yeah. I'm fucking that dude up if I'm in that movie. So that's why I don't like heights. Can't fight heights, man. Can't do that. I think against most animals, some animals, I should say, not most animals. I think I do a pretty good job. If you got a kangaroo, dude, you're gonna
box a kangaroo.
And you can't kick me though. You gotta like talk to the kangaroo and be like, listen, kangaroo, keep your feet on the ground, and I'd fuck that kangaroo up.
What about a bear, a grizzly?
Nah, man.
Yeah.
I think I'd definitely lose to a bear, gorilla. I'd fuck a fox up.
Dude, a fox is like 2 pounds, bro. That's cheating. Wait, who do you think would win in a boxing fight, you or Giani?
I'd fuck Giani up,
dude, he's kind of ripped, bro.
He's shredded. And because him and his little brother, Christian, they get in fights all the time, and we've lived together for like 5 years now. Yeah. That I've seen maybe 5 or 6 of their fights, and it's brotherly love, brotherly fights, that whole thing. But like, they go after it. And what I've noticed about Giani, because being a fighter myself, I'm trying to, you know, just in case that day ever does come where me and Giani have to come to blows, he's aggressive and he's sneakily quick. He's sneakily quick and aggressive in short spots, and that's dangerous because you don't see shit coming, and that's when you really get hurt. But I'd fuck him up for sure. And we joke about it all the time. And I'm like, dude, I'm just letting you know, like, it'd be a bad day for you. Like, we'll be at the dinner table, no conversations even happening, and just how to know. I'm just letting you know that much right now. Like, I'd fuck you up, man. If I had to, and then he'll say it back to me. Because he's a jiu-jitsu guy, and he's trained for a lot of years. You know, he's trained maybe like a decade at this point, jiu-jitsu and different martial arts. I still think I'd fuck him up though.
Have you tried that prison workout thing he has? Or I call it a prison workout because that's what it is. But
yeah.
I told him, like, that's how you should be marketing it.
Yeah,
Like, that's literally the prison setup.
It's actually, we love it. We have one in the back of our house. What is it called? Home Fit?
I think so. I don't know.
Home Fit, which is a company he's a part of. And we use it in the back. We use it in the back of the house, and I love it because people make working out so complicated, man. They want to do different splits and legs on a Thursday and back, and I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Eat a little bit less, and just move as much as you can. And pull-ups, dips, push-ups. There's like that's all you really need, and that's why dudes in prison. I mean, obviously they got a lot of time. You probably speak a little bit more to it than I can. They got nothing but fucking time, but that's all they have access to. You know, maybe they got a couple of free weights hanging out in the yard or something like that to do some bench presses.
Well, and to put it in perspective, you do fitness by day as like one of your day jobs right now.
Yeah. Teach boxing, stuff like that.
So what do you think about the guys that do push-ups, pull-ups, dips every day? Is that sustainable?
Definitely sustainable, man. It comes down to the athlete. There was a really famous running back. I think Bo Jackson. I don't know. I think there's a really famous running back that has claimed to build his entire body through purely calisthenics. So that would be the bucket of fitness that you're talking about right now, is like just push-ups, pull-ups, body weight things, calisthenics. Some of the most shredded, ripped dudes I know are strictly doing calisthenics on a day-to-day basis. And the beautiful part about that is you usually don't hurt yourself too much when you're doing that type of workouts. Like if you're in the gym, and there was a point in time during COVID, I went from 195 to 270 over a 2-year span. So like 35 pounds in 2 years. And I was living with Giani at the time. We had nothing to do but to work out and to eat. So we did that, man, and we got huge. Giani went from like 170 to like a $195. And I'm a fairly bigger guy than he is. Went from like almost 200 to 270, and we were going crazy. And we both feel it to this day. We both feel the repercussions of lifting heavy, 10 times 10 German volume training, 2-hour workouts, lifting heavy, versus the guy who you're talking about who does purely calisthenics. He probably doesn't feel that workout from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
My neck and my back will never be the same ever again. Some of it's from the years of boxing, right, of course, and just being alive. But a portion of it is also just from lifting a stupid amount of weight. So I subscribe to the calisthenic aspect. I think if you are a gifted enough athlete, meaning your metabolism, your testosterone, your natural levels of testosterone, your hormones all lines up for you to get shredded doing calisthenics, do it. The less you can do, the less miles you can put in your body and still walk around at 13, 12% body fat, which isn't abnormal. Like, you know, that's very casual level body fat for the most part. You can walk around that body fat, do that, be happy, enjoy your life, and don't worry about the stupid amount of size.
But then you mix in like cardio and stuff with that too, if you're doing the calisthenics.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest cheat code that I found in life, and my brother, he is one of the most smart fitness individuals I know, and I get a lot of my philosophy of aesthetics and fitness from him. 10,000 steps a day. He is 235 pounds. Super lean, 6-pack, and 235 lean is super hard to maintain, man. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, if you're like 155, 145, it's kind of hard not to be super lean. Like, you don't got much on, but the bigger you get, the harder it is to stay lean. And he subscribes to this too. 10,000 steps a day. So you're talking about calisthenics. If you're just doing some calisthenics and walking 10,000 steps a day, and your diet's relatively on point, you have a calorie rubber band where you stay within a certain time calorie number frame or whatever, you're going to be super lean.
So you don't think you have to run or any of that? If you're just doing push-ups, pull-ups, dips.
I don't think people should run. I think you have to, for every action, there's a consequence, right? And the action of running is bad on your knees, it's bad on your joints, it's bad on your back. I mean, literally you're stomping on the ground. And when you're running and you're tired, form kind of goes out the window a little bit. And you just kind of keep moving. And especially like, if you have that mindset you're willing to die on a treadmill, you can die on that treadmill and you have all the work ethic you want, but you're doing damage to your body. And there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Now, I said it earlier, that's the one thing I didn't have as a boxer. I'm not necessarily a tough guy. I'm not durable at all. My boy, that's another thing when me and Gianni talk about fighting. He's like, dude, I'll just like sneeze on your back one time and you'll crumble, because my spine, like the spine of like a 6-year-old man at this point. So I'm not durable. So obviously my philosophy, I haven't been durable in the past. I've pulled out of a lot of fights due to injuries. I've pulled out a lot of life things due to injuries, laid up in bed. So obviously the things I subscribe to in my fitness life and fitness as a whole is very safe. You know, I think jump rope is a fantastic calorie burn. It's a fantastic workout. But for me, just balance my spine.
Well, you're so tall. That's why that doesn't really help the cause.
But, you know, so I don't think you need to be jumping rope. I don't think you need to be running. I don't think you need to be doing any of that nonsense. I think you can just do a casual 10K steps a day. Really dial in your calories and your food, and you're gonna have a better body than the guy who's not so dialed in, not walking, but doing 2-hour workouts a day. You know, and I think the more complicated you make it, the less results you see.
Yeah, what do you think about these ripped dudes? Like, this applies to prison, which is why I bring it up too, is that there's guys that are just like eating whatever, like throwing the desserts, the brownies, the chips, just consuming for mass, but exercising like crazy too. Is that sustainable?
Definitely, I think so, man. I think so.
So you could eat whatever you want.
I mean, there's this dude. I wish I knew his name off the top of my head because he's all over TikTok and he's popping. He's a giant dude. But most of the smarter people I've listened to in my life about fitness and calories purely believe calorie in, calorie out is what it comes down to as far as your body fat levels and your weight goes. Body composition becomes a little more complicated. So if you have person A who eats 2,000 calories of chicken breast and person B eats 2,000 calories of donuts, person A probably is most definitely have a better body composition. They're going to look better, but they probably weigh almost exactly the same as person B now, given you have the same person just cloned, right? There's a lot of different factors at play there. But calorie in versus calorie out, like you can kind of rely on that through anything. I don't suggest you eat donuts all day, but there's actually a study. This guy on YouTube or TikTok did like 30 days of nothing but junk food, eating like tasty cakes, but he could limit it to like 1,900 calories a day. And he ended up losing weight.
That's like one honey bun.
It's probably actually, I know calories like the back of my hand because I've counted them for so long. That's probably like 5 honey buns.
You think? I don't know. The prison ones are 1,200 calories.
What do you, man?
Dude, guys would literally start their day with one honey bun. It's 1,200 calories.
Holy crap.
Yep. And smother it with peanut butter.
That's got to be another 600 calories right there.
And have a coffee with it. And they do 2 of those a day. Wow. Yeah.
Prison doesn't sound so bad, man.
I mean, the ramen noodles, the sodium levels, 1,200 milligrams in the full pack.
Okay, we're looking at a couple different honey buns here, though, dude. We're looking at because that's a healthy honey bun.
They called it like the mega honey bun or something. They're huge. It was a glazed. This thing was like this big. It was big, and it was only like I think $1 or $2.
But you know, I think I mean that's like something that's well like discussed and argued about in fitness. I think you're better off eating clean foods for sure. Like your internal health, you'll feel better. But I think if you're purely just looking at a number on the scale, you can eat under your calorie output no matter what it is, and you'll probably be fine.
Yeah, like when I eat any type of dessert or anything, I feel like shit. And when I don't go to the gym, I feel like shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm realizing in my life now that that's what I need to do. Like I need to eat clean and then also go to the gym in the morning.
I think everyone needs to, dude. Everyone needs to. I think everyone needs to. It's so funny when people are just like, especially as we get older, I noticed it with myself. I think I'm aging rapidly. Yeah. To be honest, I'm 30 and I feel 60 most days because my back and my neck is so messed up. Just general movement, whether it be some yoga, some sauna, some cold plunge, Pilates. And it's so funny because you see me going to Pilates at like this giant dude and all these girls, and I'm the worst individual in the class. If there's a skill level to be measured by, I'm the worst. Yoga, I'm the worst. I can't bring my leg anywhere near my hand, and it's a whole thing. But this general movement is going to make your life flow a little bit easier. You're going to feel a little bit better. Your brain's going to work a little better. You have all those happy hormones that are pumping. I mean, this is stuff that's like super well documented. And like, if you don't believe it, you just don't believe science at that point.
So what do you think about the guys that like say they're in prison eating all of this terrible food for you, and then they come out? How do you think they transition like that?
I think some of the time, I think it's actually interesting. I think some of the time you just got unique athletes that they could eat whatever and do whatever, and it still find a way to walk around at 9%, 8% body fat, which is pretty elite. Like anything under 10 is like really, really elite. It's like what people go on bodybuilding shows, like on the stages. I think they go on there at like 8%, 9%. I think you have freak athletes who could probably just eat honey buns, these colossal honey buns that you're talking about, and just do kind of moderate workouts and still probably walk around at that level. And then I think you got individuals who maybe they are eating those 2 honey buns covered in the peanut butter and coffee, maybe one other snack, if what you're telling me, I mean, that can only be 3,200 calories in a day, which isn't a ton. And if they're working out and they're really putting in the work, I don't know if there's much else to do in prison, but do that.
Yeah, you're just working out.
You're just kind of working out. Then your calorie expenditure is higher than what you're actually putting in. So it goes back to the original conversation. Like, you're still kind of in a good position. Now, that transition, you speak to this better than I can. That transition from prison food to real food, I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that at all. Sorry, my phone's ringing. I can't speak to that at all because I don't know what that food looks like, man.
Yeah.
It sounds delicious from what you just described. It sounds like a good time, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's when you have like, it's always weird. Like, I talk to people where they're taking so much sodium in, like in prison with the ramen noodles and the chips and everything, and then you change your diet. It could, maybe have some health ramifications or anything like that when you're getting out because it's totally different food.
Yeah, I never pay attention to it. I mean, here's the thing. I'm also not eating copious amounts of ramen noodles for years at a time like some people in prison are. Yeah. I've never been a cholesterol thing. I mean, I probably should be. You know what I'm saying? I probably should be. And maybe when I'm 50 years old, I would love to be more health conscious about it. But I look at sodium, water, and carbs as kind of this partnering of three friends in the body that dictate how lean I look the next morning. To be honest, because if you have a Monday where you're super heavy on sodium and super heavy on carbs, that Tuesday, as long as your diet for the previous 3 to 4, 5, 6 weeks was like super on point, and you have one pig out day on Monday, you always look your best that next day. When your body's just full, like you can eat donuts and salty and just tons and tons of disgusting carby high sodium foods because your muscles are all pumped up, even your abs, and it is funny. So if you're doing that for a long period of time, I can't imagine it'd be good for you. But you got some freak athletes, man, and people become freak athletes in prison because you have nothing else to do. People reach some athletic peaks in prison, man,
Yeah, what's interesting, and this kind of goes to the theme of the show, is that you're just a normal person that has like such experience and interesting like thoughts on this. Like, I'm sitting next to you at dinner and I had no idea that you were the boxer and that you knew all of this about food and health and fitness. And then Giani looks at me and he's like, he was in Power too. And you were the fitness trainer.
I was a fitness trainer.
That got killed.
Kind of bullshit, man, because I'm an artist and I want to be respected as an artist. And they killed me, those motherfuckers, man. They killed me. And that was dope. That was one of the dopest experiences I've had to do as an actor. Because when I retired from boxing, quote unquote retired, I had a shoulder injury, so I call it retire. Some people just say I flat out quit, whatever. But
we'll give you retired.
They appreciate it, man. I get to hang my glove somewhere. Final once for all. But
how long ago did you retire?
I was like 22.
And you're how old now?
30.
So you're older than Giani.
Yeah, I'm a couple years older than G. I'm a couple years older than G. But so when I went to that, I've had some great bookings over the years and some great wins. But the Power was the best because to be on set with like essentially my close friends at that point. Giani was like my best friend at this point, and then Michael Rainey Jr., who plays the other character on the show, and a couple other individuals I've met over the years just from them being in Giani's circle and myself as well, that you're getting to be part of this big grand stage with like kind of all your buddies, and everyone else is taking it very serious. And I, of course, as an actor, I've spent many years studying Meisner technique and acting classes. I too take it very, very serious. And you're just kind of joking around the entire time. You're kind of everything's nothing serious. Everyone's just laughing, and you're with the boys, and that was fun because it really gets to show you what that next level of the career in entertainment looks like. Like you look at someone like Adam Sandler, who's made dozens of movies with just his buddies, and that's kind of where I'd like to get to, and kind of where I think we're heading as well. But the Power thing was amazing. I just don't like that they killed me, and I keep going to like the producers and be like, "Yo, you can bring me back. You can put me in a full body cast, and like have come and I'll like speak some words out of the side of my mouth. Like there's room. Let's use our imagination." They could have
extended your role in that. Like, I thought that's when they introduced your character, I thought there was going to be a little bit more than what they gave you. Yeah, but it fits you.
I was hoping for the case. And it's so funny because when all my boys back home are giant Power fans, and they saw me, and they're like, "Yo, he made it, and no, he's actually a coach, he's actually a boxing coach, he's actually a personal trainer." I'm like, don't connect those, man. I'm trying to set myself aside as an actor and be taken seriously. So that was funny, and yeah, I mean, the way that the audition came about actually is it came in from my agent, my manager, and Giani had for years tried to like shoehorn me in as much as you can, right? You only have so much control, but And this role came about not from the organic way that actors get auditions, and immediately came in and I grabbed Giani. I'm like, I need your voice on this tape, man. You know what I'm saying? I need your voice, and let's make it known that this is a friendship, and that stars are gonna be, people on the show are gonna be unhappy if I'm not part of this episode. You know what I mean? So I did everything I could to make that happen, and obviously, Stars was great. The whole process filming in New York, because I lived in New York for a couple months, living with G as well, and that was a whole different setting. Because I'm from New Jersey, from the East Coast, and you still live Connecticut.
Connecticut, yeah.
Hate it, dude.
Where in New Jersey?
I'm from Wildwood.
Oh, okay, that's popular. They had I think they have a Whole Foods kind of near there because we opened up a lot of stores when I was working with Whole Foods.
Okay, cool.
Wildwood's a big.
Wildwood's a dope place, man.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Wildwood? I mean, I know that you had your partnership or whatever, but did you ever go and spend some time in Wildwood?
Not really on vacation, but growing up, so many people that I was in school with, that was the family vacation.
For sure,
you go to Wildwood.
It's a vacation town. 90% of the city's economy happens in like a 2.5 month span, and then there's the 10% that just happens through the regular hustle and bustle. But born and raised there, and then I moved to LA when I was 18 with my best friend, this dude named Kali, who lives in Peru now. And we moved here when we were 18, and it was by far the worst and best decision I've ever made in my entire life. Those first couple months, first year really, I couldn't get a job at Wendy's, and I'm like, man, come on. I know I'm unqualified, and I'm not, the brightest bulb at times. I'm aware of my skill set, man. I was coming with black eyes because I was still fighting. I was still training. And I could just throw me in the back. Just throw me in the back with the fryer or something like that. And I couldn't get a job to save my life. And the only place, after like 7-8 months, 9 months actually, of just not having a job, and shout out to my mom and my brother Steve and everyone. They chip in and be like, "Oh, here's $32. That's what we got for you today." And I'm like, "All right, man, thank God I'm gonna be on the streets another day." But they really helped. They really held me down in that time. The first company that gave me jobs, Abercrombie and Fitch.
I could see you working there.
Yeah, dude.
Were you a model or just a worker?
At the time, they made everybody do both.
Okay.
You were like this hybrid employee, which is very weird because they're in a giant lawsuit. I wasn't a part of the lawsuit,
I saw the documentary.
You saw that? There's a whole thing. I was like,
I didn't see you in it.
I had nothing but great things to say about Abercrombie and Fitch, man. Y'all gave me a paycheck when no one else would, man. So I didn't watch the documentary, but I would get things in the mail about this lawsuit. I was like, whatever, man. I'm still collecting these paychecks. I'm not worried about what's going on there. I have to survive. But that's why, best and worst. And then from there, boxing gave me like an identity in Los Angeles, which I think is very, very important when you come to LA, because if you come to Los Angeles as a student, like if you go to UCLA or USC and you come from a different town, like you have a built-in ecosystem to be a part of, right? You get to be part of the fraternities and the parties and the football and the scholars and all that stuff. And if you come out here and you have family here, you obviously have family. I came out here with like just showed up. Nothing lined up for me to do. I knew I wanted to box. I knew I was boxing previous, and people didn't care. I'd go up to boxing gyms and be like, "Hey, like I'm here," and they'd be like, "What, dude? Like, kindly fuck off." You know what I'm saying? Like we're good. We have our team. We're kind of moving on. And that's actually the reason, because I asked you in the beginning about what that feeling was like before your fight. That's the thing that was the thing that scared me before a fight, is because my whole life was being, propped up by this identity as a boxer, and that people were starting to finally be kind to me in like LA and not treat me like a bum, a 19-year-old, 18-year-old kid with no money and nothing. People are starting to be kind to me, treat me with love. And the boxing community is very small, so like you start to meet people very quickly and you start to kind of level up in life, so to speak. And I was just worried sitting in these like little dungy gyms, at the Golden Gloves. Like the Los Angeles Golden Gloves happens in like this random YMCA. It's not like a glorified event, even though it's like a flashy title. Sitting there in this locker room auditorium, and just thinking, if I lose this fight, all the good things that are happening for me are going to stop. All these people that are being kind to me and treating me with love and giving me opportunity, they'll probably take them away if I lose this fight. And that's why it was so hard to go fight. I wasn't worried about getting banged up. I mean, I know I said I wasn't much of a tough guy, but I could take a shot or two and be completely fine.
Yeah.
My entire boxing career, never been knocked down, never been knocked out, never touched the canvas once. So I got sturdy legs and sturdy neck. Like, you can hit me with a couple shots, I'm still standing. But you start to take away the love and the admiration and the opportunity and the life that I had built for myself being a boxer. That's when I turned into a bitch. That's when I turned into a guy that I'm not proud to be because, it's just scary, all that's taken away from you if you lose.
I mean, and what's interesting is you hear all the time the stories of people that go to LA, California for acting. Mm-hmm. You don't really hear the stories like this.
Yeah.
Like you went here specifically for boxing.
Yeah. Los Angeles has the greatest amateur boxing scene in the world. 100%. Obviously you have countries that have great amateur boxing. Cuba always has fantastic amateur boxers. Great Britain always has fantastic amateur boxers. But LA, man, LA for just to be a county or whatever, or a city, to supply as many Olympians and professional fighters and Hall of Fame fighters as they have over the last, 50, 60 years. It's uncanny, man. And it's like everyone always wants to argue what's the best basketball state or what's the best football state. Like, it's not even a question. There's not even a second, a third, or a fourth, or a fifth. It's like you're either an amateur boxing succeeding in LA or you're not. Las Vegas, actually, I should give Las Vegas its flowers. Las Vegas actually has a great amateur boxing scene too. But and fortunately, I had a coach who I was introduced to. His name is Ramon Espada. And the dopest coach in the world, man. I'm so lucky and so blessed because any other coach would have fed me to the wolves. I was very green. I had a lot of holes in my game, man. I was very wonky with my body. I didn't know what I was doing with my arms. I just knew how to stay out of the way of harm. I could slip and roll well. I didn't know anything other than that. And he coddled me until I was ready not to be coddled. And that's like the only thing you can ask for as a boxer, as a young boxer, to be protected and to be coddled until you're not ready to be protected and coddled. And I actually, because at the time, again, going back to just being an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, trying to find his purpose in a giant city, I was entertaining the opportunity to work with other coaches and to work with different management companies, different promoters, just to kind of be a part of the ecosystem that is boxing in LA. And they fed me to the wolves. They did not coddle me, did not have love for me like Coach Espada did. And that's one thing I'm always super, super thankful for. And we're still super close to this day.
Yeah.
And that was a hard conversation telling him I was not going to be boxing anymore. You know what I mean?
Do you think it's just as hard to make it in boxing in LA as it is to make it as an actor?
It's a different level of hard. Boxing is hard on your body, man. Boxing's hard on your body. And amateur fights are 3 rounds. How many rounds was your fight?
It was 3 2-minute rounds.
So a novice level amateur fight is the same exact thing.
It felt like forever, though.
It feels like, dude. I
thought I was like, get me the fuck out this ring.
When I would step into that 3rd round. Actually, it's a weird thing, man. 30 seconds into the 1st round, it feels like I just started the marathon, and I have to kind of pick and choose my spots. But when I step out of the corner for that 3rd round, I feel like I could box for a year straight. I used to bounce around the ring for 12 rounds, 15 rounds, 20 rounds, just popping my jab. And I used to, dance around the ring. I wasn't like a phone booth fighter. I would kind of pop my jab and move a little bit. But that first 2 rounds, I didn't feel like I could do that. That first 2 rounds, I'm nervous. My legs are shaky. You don't know what's going on, but you come out of that 3rd round. So it does feel like forever until you kind of get to the end of forever. And then I kind of felt like I could do whatever I want. But boxing is tough in a very physical way. 3 2-minute rounds or whatever it is, 3-minute rounds. I would feel like I got in a car accident the next morning. And I wouldn't be marked up or nothing like that because you wear a headgear. So you're not getting hit with headbutts or anything crazy like that. You're using bigger gloves in the amateurs. I believe at the competition level, it's 8-ounce gloves for my weight class or 10-ounce gloves. I forget. But so you're using slightly bigger gloves. You have the headgear. You're not boxing 12 rounds like you are in the pros or even 6 or 8 rounds. You're boxing 3 rounds, man. Like it's over and done with before you know it. I would feel like I got in a car accident. So it's harder on you physically. Acting and entertainment is infinitely harder on you spiritually and mentally. Infinitely, because at least in boxing, there's definitive answers to things. You either knock someone out or you got knocked out. You either got your hand raised at the end of the fight or you didn't. And for as shady as boxing can be, which there's a long history of shady judges and scorecards, and even to this day happening in boxing, you kind of it's a spectator sport. If the fans think you won, you won. And that's kind of all you care about. But I loved the logic and the black and white and the definite answers that came with boxing. I either was sharp in the gym today, I felt good in the gym today, I got the better of my sparring partner in the gym today, and it's not always about that, of course, sometimes you're just working on things, but you always can know how it went. As an actor, man, I've done tapes, and at this point in my acting career, I'm auditioning for, you know, dope projects, legitimate projects. You know, when you first start out, you're kind of just auditioning for anything that someone will watch you for, but now I'm like auditioning for legitimate level projects, and I don't even know if I did. Like, did I do a good job? Nobody knows, and you never hear any feedback. You either get the job, and if you don't get the job, that's your feedback that you just didn't
because they're so peculiar, whatever the word
Peculiar?
is. Yeah, I can't pronounce it correctly.
I can't pronounce words either.
They're so focused on those little things, whereas like compared to boxing, like it's either you have the technique or not. But in acting, you could do it perfectly, but it's not for that person that you auditioned for.
That it's, in other words, it's super subjective.
Yeah.
Acting, music, being an artist or painter or a sculptor, it's so subjective, man. And this is something that Giani and I talk about all the time. We have, for as similar as our minds work when it comes to acting, we went through very similar schools of acting. There's this individual named Lak Rana, who's one of our very close friends. He was the acting coach that took me and Johnny from like just saying lines to like actually doing legitimate work at a professional level. We think very differently about it because Gianni's like, everything can be perfect. Every blink, every click of the tongue, every syllable can be perfect. And I try telling him, I'm like, nah, it can't, man, because it's perfect to you in this moment, and that works for you, and you've had success with it, so you should continue. Don't let anyone shake you with the ideology because it works for you. But you don't know who's watching the tape thinking that wink wasn't supposed to be where that wink was or some nonsense, and it can even be even more minuscule than that. You can do the most perfect audition, and someone's just like, I don't think so. And I'm the one in the position of power, so kick rocks, you know? And that's the thing that's hard, that you never know where your standing is. At least for me, but I'll speak for myself personally. I never know where my standing is. You know, you do a couple of great tapes, you get a couple of great bookings, and then it goes completely bone dry for 6, 7, 8 months, 9 months, and you're like, wow, it's over.
But you know what it is? It's like the power is put in the wrong people's hands sometimes, because some of these casting agents, like, it's not even making it to the higher up person that might have thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I auditioned for this thing for HBO Discovery Channel last November, didn't hear anything, and then my friend connected me to them again because he got casted in it, and now I'm doing it next month. Dude. But thank you, but it's a different casting agent, you know?
For sure.
So it's like I gave the same thing, but it has to do with the right person seeing it.
The subjectivity in the arts. I don't even like, that sounds like a stupid word, but you know what I'm saying. The subjectivity in the arts, the story that you shared, my experience, is fucking bullshit, man. It's fucking, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. It's fucking bullshit, man. It's really bullshit, man. And
so you doubled down on the cursing.
start flying on F-bombs up tonight. That's what I loved about boxing, man. That's what I loved about growing up as an athlete and just, you know, being a ball player or a boxer, and no one could tell me I didn't knock that dude out. No one can tell me that wasn't a spectacular knockout, that doesn't deserve to be on every highlight reel from here to freaking Egypt, because that was a badass knockout, and it's widely accepted because it happened in reality. And acting, it's like, or any type of art, man, it's like, you know, it's up to the viewer. It's complete. That's why someone can look at Daniel Day-Lewis, who's widely accepted as like the greatest male actor. That like, I watch Daniel Day-Lewis, and I'm sure it's fantastic. But like, I'd probably rather watch like a Kevin Smith movie, or like Jay and Silent Bob, where these guys are probably like getting thumb downs on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's so subjective. It's such a personal preference, and that part of it is super freaking hard, man.
Dude, it's tough, man. You know,
Super
and you also
hard.
Sometimes like you could be casted in the perfect thing. Like when I met Giani, I was like, this is Braden.
Yeah.
Like that's him.
But you know, it's also to the point where, just going back to the point where sometimes the wrong people are casting the wrong things, and not that they're not talented. Maybe they just don't have the life experience that lends to, like, you'd probably cast a prison show really fucking well. Yet they got some guy or some individual who's never even stolen a candy bar in their life, never even felt the thrill of being like a little bit in trouble, casting a prison show. Like, that person's not going to get the essence of the show correct, versus someone like yourself who's never cast a show in their life but has the real life experience and know what that feels like and should look like. I don't know what the audition process was like for Giani. We were friends at the time. We weren't living together, so we weren't doing tapes and all that stuff like that. But Giani made Braden Weston, who Braden Weston is. And the same thing with, any great character, man. Any great character. Any character Billy Bob Thornton has done. Like, Billy Bob Thornton has made those characters who those characters are, like the Sling Blade character or something like that. Like, so it's like a weird, like, has to meet in the middle of, like, yes, the role has to be right for you, but you're also bringing that role to life, and that's why when you meet Giani, you kind of meet Braden Weston at the same time because Giani let Giani bleed into that role, and that's why it's real. That's why it connects with people, and that's why people fuck with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I interviewed Chevy, I asked him like what his role he got offered that he didn't take, and he said Forrest Gump. And I can't picture. Yeah, they wanted him as Forrest Gump.
He would have been badass Forrest Gump, though.
But I can't see it after watching it with who got casted in it.
Yeah.
So that's exactly to what you're saying though, of like that actor becomes that person.
Yeah.
So if Giani didn't get it, we could be sitting here saying, oh, well, whoever ended up getting it is Braden. It could be the same thing.
I think even a better way to phrase it is the character becomes the person. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that character, like the Forrest Gump became Tom Hanks. Like if Chevy was Forrest Gump would have became Chevy, and we'd be having the same conversation reverse about Tom Hanks probably could never.
That's why I hate when these actors screw up and then they recast them.
I know. It's a very weird thing, which is like my worst nightmare ever.
Yeah.
Because I never feel like I got a job until I'm there on set. Even with the power stuff, I'm like, I was in New York, sleeping in a hotel, like 3 hours away from pickup. It's like I didn't sleep a wink that night. I was so nervous, man. I was so nervous, dude, and whatever. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, they could recast this. It's not that important of a role.
We can cut it.
Well, just happened before, man. I was part of a movie that went to the Sundance Film Festival, which is like an amazing thing for an actor to be a part of, even if you're not the lead, which I wasn't. I was a side character in like, very minimal scenes. I was cut from it, but I'm like, even I was there. I got paid for it and everything, and I'm still not part of this project. Like, I'll never be able to tell my kids, or I'll never be able to really hang that on my resume, so to speak, because I was cut out of it. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the performance. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it's just kind of a time thing as well. But it's such an interesting thing. And also the seedy part, the seedier parts and the muddier waters of acting, which we're all well documented with the Weinstein and just the nonsense that's happened, versus the seedy and muddy parts of boxing. I'll take the seedy and muddy parts of boxing every day of the week, 10 over 10 times, because there's still level of humanity left. And I maybe someone like, Mike Tyson's experience with, Don King and that whole stuff and being charged for towels and all that stuff. Like, maybe you'd have a different opinion about it, but the stuff I've seen in acting, stuff I've experienced with an acting, sketchy stuff, man. Very sketchy stuff. I'll share the story. I might have even told you guys at dinner, but I'll share it again. When I was transitioning from boxing to acting, I didn't want to just leave boxing with not having a new identity, right? This whole ego, having something to be part of LA with. So I knew I had wanted to be part of acting for some time. I met some actors. I've done some acting. I'm like, I think I feel pretty good about transitioning and my odds to be successful in this field. But I started to tell my dad, who was like a huge fight guy. My dad's a huge fight guy. If you go to my dad's house, there's just posters of like Claude Van Damme and like just fighting stuff and swords and boxing bags and like everything. Like, he's a huge fight fan, and he was super supportive wherever I wanted to. But also my coach, I had a boxing manager at the time who had invested a lot of money into me, equipment, paying for me to get to tournaments, et cetera, et cetera. I had to break the news that like, hey, like your investment went to zero. You know what I mean? I had to break that news. And I thought if I had booked a dope role in like a big project, that I could be like, hey guys, look, like
I made it. Yeah.
It's not that your investment went to zero, is that your investment involved in something better. And that wasn't the case. What actually was the case is I went to this casting, and it wasn't a legitimate casting. I found it on like the numbers, like, you rip a number off like a street pole, which is lesson number one for young actors out there. That's not a real casting. Don't go to that. Something weird's gonna happen, and something weird did happen. So I take the number and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be my opportunity. And that's the dreamer in me, the optimistic.
Good to be optimistic,
right? I was a little too optimistic, man. I was a little too fucking optimistic for this one. So I pull it down and I'm like, I'm gonna book this, and it was a boxing movie. I was like, man, God is really like hooking it up right now. Like, the universe is for sure on my side. I'm booking this thing. It's going to be great. And I'll have an excuse not to get punched in the face anymore. So I take it and I go to the casting. And there's this weird seedy guy like in the back, and I'm like, oh, must be what all the horror stories are about. This is what they said. But you know what? I'm a gamer, man. I've gone through a lot worse. I went through 12 rounds of hell with, heavyweight champions. Like, I'll be fine. So I do the scene horribly, probably. And he's recording the whole thing, and there's a nude scene in it. And it wasn't like advertised as that. It was advertised as a real theatrical movie, like for real actors who do real acting. I'm like, this is for me. So anyway, dude. So basically, long story short, he doesn't convince me. He's like, there's a nude scene. We want to see you do a nude scene where you're in the shower talking to your coach behind you. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like that's what actors do, man. Like, fucking, come on, man. Like, I'll do that right now. So I took my clothes off and I started doing the scene. One thing led to another. Nothing weird happened, but there's this scene of me as a 19, 20-year-old kid, probably just with my back turned, my naked butt to the camera, like doing a fake washing thing. And okay, that ended. I put my clothes back on. Nothing weird happened. He didn't try to touch me or nothing weird like that. Just got some video of me being naked doing a scene, which is freaking weird. Weird thing, very perverted, very weird thing, but hey.
You're just okay with this?
I mean, dude, my butt's out there, man. My butt's out there. I'm naked all the time in the house. Like the boys, I'm like, whatever, man. It's just my butt or whatever the case is. It gets weirder. Okay. And that's a lesson for young actors, man. Like I was young and had no guidance. I had no mentors. I knew nothing. I knew nobody. It's very easy to take advantage of someone who knows nothing, knows nobody. And thankfully for me, that the experience wasn't that horrible. That there's a lot worse ways that could go. For me, someone's got my butt on camera. All right, like whatever. I wish I would have known then, but I know now, and it's a lesson for other people not to do stupid shit like that. Mm-hmm. That's not a real audition that you got from freaking Street Corner. Lesson learned. But the weird fucking part is, it's like I know this guy's face. He had some glasses, like a comb over, like kind of a smaller dude. Like a year later, 2 years later, I'm walking in Brentwood, going to my gym, and some dude pulls me over and he's like, "Hey, have you ever been like modeling or acting?" Like I'm like walking, he pulls up in his car, he's like, "You ever been modeling and acting?" And at the time, me being still dumb and optimistic and delusional, he was like, "Yeah, like totally." And in my head, I'm like, "Dude, this is my big break. I'm about to get discovered by this weirdo or whatever." And I gave him my number. We exchanged numbers or whatever, exchanged emails. And I walk away. I'm like, I know that face. I know that fucking face. Where do I know that face from? I don't know. It's a big city. You've probably seen him or something like that before. And then we email, and he emails me, says, "I have a confession. I'm not actually a casting director or scout model. I'm a dirty boy who needs to be taught a lesson." And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. In that moment, Ian, it all clicked to me. He was the dude. He was the dude running the casting session where my buttocks was exposed and I was showering. It was the same fucking guy who was doing that. He was probably just a schemy, perverted, disgusting individual. It gets even worse. I tell him to fuck off, like over email. I didn't bring up the whole casting process, but it's the same guy who got me twice, man. That's how dumb and optimistic I was, man. Got me twice. It gets even worse. He starts hanging around my apartment complex. Like I had a second or third story window, and I would wait at 7-Eleven across the street, and I would see his car and him just hanging about for like an hour, 2 hours at a time. And I'm like, bro, I'm gonna get killed, man. This guy's gonna JFK me or something, man. Like it's over for me. And then eventually just fizzled out. And I know what you're probably thinking. I'm a boxer. Why don't I go fuck this guy up? I was petrified. Man. I was like, bro, the horror stories are real about what.
Dude, you had a full-blown stalker.
Dude, not only that, like, this guy had got me twice. That's how dumb and delusional, optimistic I was. And
were there other men at the thing?
For sure. So I'm not the only one who got duped.
Did you call the cops?
Nah.
You didn't want to snitch?
Didn't do that.
You were a victim, bro. Holy cow.
But, Giani thinks he's like, bro, I can't believe that happened to you, because he himself went through dumb, optimistic, not that exact, but, young actors people take advantage of young, optimistic actors every day in this town. And he's like, do you feel comfortable sharing that with people, dude? Like, are you sure you feel? And I'm like, 100%, man, because it's part of reality that it is being an actor in LA, and it's not like something extreme. My heart goes out to everybody who's dealt with something like that in this industry. It's something that is kind of almost like I got like nicked by a bullet. You know what I'm saying? I got grazed by a little bit of a weird perverted guy in LA. Like, it wasn't that anything too serious, but.
So he was like following you around for a year and a half.
Following me around for a grip, man. Following me around for a free, and that's my my first stalker experience, which is definitely the worst. I had a second stalker experience, not as creepy. This one was by a girl, but this first one, I would be up all night, and at the time I was smoking a lot of weed. You know what I'm saying? And I would be all paranoid, just looking out my window, smoking, just looking and shit, and being like, "Oh, he's out there, man. Oh, crap. Like, what do I do?" You know, type of thing. I didn't tell anyone because you're a little embarrassed.
Why do people do this?
Dude, he's a weirdo, man. He's a weirdo, and I hope he's still following me. I hope he's still following me because now I'm just handing out ass whoopings. At the time, I didn't want no smoke. I didn't want to get arrested, nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? You beat some guy up. Yeah. Cops come back. This guy's trying to jerk me off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole thing.
Dude, that is crazy. And now you see, like, what happens to women, too. It's even worse.
Dude, that's exactly what I meant by my statement earlier. Like, the seedier and muddy parts of entertainment are infinitely seedier and muddier than the world of boxing, and that's why I miss that world. I miss the getting beaten up. I miss like the fact if you have a bad day in boxing, you end up with a broken jaw. But if you have a bad day in acting, you just have a bad tape. Like you measure it like that. Like I prefer this other side over here, 10 out of 10 days, because this is so vague and it can be manipulated in such a way, man. And like people got to be careful, dude. People got to be careful. Young actors need friends and mentors and people to guide in the right direction. We need people to take care of young actors, even old act, anybody in that case, because it's very easy to manipulate it, and you can do it. You can get away with it.
That's crazy.
You can get away with it, man. You can get away with it. I'm trying to think. There was another weird situation. But it wasn't as weird, and I was a little bit more of an adult, and I caught it in the midst. I was like, this guy's trying to get to me, man. And it's weird, man, because they think they can, man. They really think they can because it's such a high, acting is such a high barrier to entry. Maybe the highest barrier of entry in the world. I don't know. Maybe like there's doctors and stuff out there who disagree, but like such a high barrier to entry that like they can take advantage of you, man. They definitely can. I got nicked by I was slipping and rolling out of this pervert's hands, man.
Yeah, they should have casted you in like the dark side of childhood acting or anything.
Or teenage, young adult acting, man.
Yeah, and they should do a whole series.
I'm sure I'm not the only one out there with a horror story like this, man. I'm positive I'm not, man. And it's a scary thing, man. And lately people are starting to come around and be like, yo, like we're not putting up with the shit. And there was a whole Me Too movement and everything like that. And Terry Crews spoke out, which is a hard thing for a man to do. So like, kudos to those people that were brave enough to do it, because what they dealt with was infinitely worse than, my experience. And that shit affected me in the moment big time. Like I was all nervous and stuff. I was all weird for a couple of days. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And then you look at the people like in New York City that are getting like punched, like the guys that are just randomly walking up and punching women.
I saw that, man.
It's fucking crazy.
I went through a kick in my like mid-20s where I would like sought after dog abusers and like challenge them to fights, because I'm a big dog guy. I always grew up with dogs. I had my own boxer at the time. His name was Muhammad Ali.
Really?
It was very cliche. Yeah, he was a boxer named Muhammad Ali.
Cute.
He was so dope, man. He was the coolest fucking dog. My mom has him now. But I would go out of my way and be like, you're a tough guy, right? You're a tough guy beating up this little dog? I'll fuck your ass up, man, right now.
Watch out, Michael Vick.
Yeah. I don't want no smoke with Michael Vick, man. I feel like that guy's got hitters left and right. But one time I was walking to my home in Venice and I saw this dude beating up a fucking dog in broad daylight. There's actually a video of me. There's a video of the whole interaction, and this is not a cool interaction on my end because I ended up, I'll tell you. So I saw the dude beating up the dog, and I screamed, I'm like, hey, yo, like, pick on someone your own size or something like that. This dude had a bulletproof vest on and a weapon in his hand, and I don't know what the weapon was, but he started coming after me, and he let go of his dog, and the dog's chasing me too.
You're trying to save the dog.
This is this mean, gray-looking pit bull, man. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck I get myself into, man? I'm out here trying to save this dog. This dog's trying to kill me now. And the dog's chasing me. He's coming after me. There's a video of this whole interaction. Me saying that the dog, him, and me looping around like this tree and taking off and jumping down like this 3-foot story of like whatever it was. It was like a little bridge in Venice. I jumped onto some cement and I take off. And I actually had my work uniform on at the time. And the person found my boss who owned the company I was working at and sent him that. And I had the video. I don't have it anymore, but after that, I stopped challenging people to fist fights over that type of stuff, and maybe call the cops or something more responsible. But I went through that phase too, man, because it's bullshit, man. People think they can just pick on people for no reason, or pick on dogs or take advantage of people. Like, I'll fuck you up, man. Oh, fuck you up.
You're the dog savior.
I know, that would have been cool, dude. That would have been a cool moniker for me, man. That would have been cool. But I bitched out, actually. Once I saw the dog chasing me, I'm like, oh, fuck this.
You were just trying to save the dog.
I'm getting the fuck out of here, man. It is, I mean, you probably experienced that too. I mean, prison is, I mean, from what you hear, the horsers, is almost exclusively people taking advantage, manipulating, extorting in some type of way. And I remember the story you told us at dinner. You probably shared it on this podcast before, but your first day there, you didn't have your papers.
Yep.
And you had to go sit at that goofy table.
I had to sit at the Chomo table. That was like one of my first viral clips too on social media.
So what did you call the table?
The Chomo table.
What's a Chomo?
Chomo is child molester. So it's like CH and then MO for child molester. I don't know where the first O comes from.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what the Chomos. And because I look like I had darker rim glasses and my face was chubbier and then like I had thick, longer hair and dude, I had some highlights still left in my hair because I would bleach my hair, but dude, it was bad. You know, I look like a little chipmunk. And they made me sit there, dude. It is crazy.
Were you shitting yourself in that moment?
Dude, you're shitting yourself all the time. And like watching, like I just started watching Prison Break, and I'm
Great
glad.
Fucking show.
So good.
So
and I'm
good.
like, I'm glad I didn't watch this like while I was going through it because I would have been scared shitless.
Interesting.
But the stuff that happens in that show, minus the escape stuff, that's kind of fake. But that what was going on with like the prison rapes and this and that happens. You know, that's a real thing. Commissary taken, you know.
What's commissary? Is your finances?
No, like your food, like the extra food that you could buy from like the canteen. The guys holding someone's pocket, sitting at certain tables, sitting at certain benches, the violence, the shanks, like it's all very real, you know?
Interesting. That, bro, and I always know there's always like these tough guys out there in the world who like, first thing you gotta do when you get to prison is find the biggest, baddest dude. That's like a cliche saying.
Literally, like every time I interview someone, what was your first day at prison like? Went up to the biggest, blackest guy, hit him in the face.
Dude, and I'm like, dude, that's the last thing I'm doing, dude. I'm finding the small shaded corner of shadows and trying to hide away and do my time.
No, the correct advice should be if someone tries you, then you hit them.
You have to.
Then you have to, but you don't go out and find it. Yeah.
Is there like I mean, there's always these cool movies and stories about like underground boxing things and bare knuckles in prison.
Like, and the prison guards that fight.
Yeah.
Not where I was at, but I've interviewed guys where, guards will pop the cells and, you know, bring out a couple inmates to fight, or guards will go in there and fight.
See, that would be my only chance. That would be my only chance.
The boxing,
because people would start to probably have a little respect for me, at least once they saw me bang.
It's just never really a fair one because you don't know who's working what angle, and if people know stuff or this and that. The whole system's kind of like corrupt in that sense. Did you see Meek Mill posted about the show?
No.
I put on my story. I had a fired probation officer from Philly.
Okay.
Expose about how they treated Meek Mill when he was in prison.
No way.
And the system was like purposely trying to jam him up. And I guess Meek Mill saw the TikTok and he put it on his Instagram today. Which was really cool. And I had like locked in with Ian Bick and like the Ian Bick thing. But like that's what happens. Like more people need to talk about like what goes on like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of bullshit in the world, man.
Yeah.
That's why as I get older, a lot of bullshit in the world, man. No matter who you are. Meek Mill is a bona fide, you know, rap superstar at this point in his life. You know what I'm saying? At this point in my life, I more so just want to be left alone. You know what I'm saying? As a young man, I want to be in the mix. I want to go to clubs and do all the shit and be in the parties and hang out with the people.
Aren't you doing that now?
Kinda, yeah.
Have you seen your roommates?
Kinda, yeah. But we do it in a professional manner.
Professional?
It's usually...
What time do you guys go to bed?
It depends. But okay, excluding some weekends, most weekends, me and Gene, the boys, and there's 5 or 6 of us who are very tight. We usually go out together. It's always this conversation of like, almost like I'm kicking and screaming my way there to a certain degree. Don't get me wrong, like it's a great fucking time. And we always have a great time, but like, I'm usually the one being like, oh, it's time to get out of here. Like, was it 9:30, 10:30, man? Let's get the fuck on out of here, man. And then we end up, you know, and G's a lot like that too, man. Yeah. For as much as outside as it seems as he is, my boy is inside, man. He is inside. He's chilling. We're usually playing UFC.
That's the way to be. You know, the more fame you get and everything like that, it's better. Like, I like being inside. Like, I like doing my own thing.
For
sure.
You know? And I'm sure you probably have an odd target on your back being the prison conversation guy. You know, people probably grab your ear and you get stuck in conversations that you probably don't want to be a part of nonstop, man.
It's so bad. I mean, I don't go to clubs anymore unless like it's an event related to building the brand.
Yeah.
But like casually, no. Like I'd rather just stay in and hang out and keep low-key.
Are you a video game guy?
Yeah, I'd play COD. Do you guys do Warzone?
Okay, G and his little brother Christian, they play a lot of COD.
Dude, put me in the rotation. Get me in there.
Yeah. I'll definitely let them know because they play. That's like a third cycle game for them when like we've exhausted our other games. We're big UFC fans. Like,
okay, I've never played. Yeah.
You ever played UFC?
No, never. I've never played any sports games except for like 2K. I think it was 2K12.
Okay.
I would play on the PlayStation.
Back in the day. Do they have PlayStation in prison?
In state, not in the feds. Maybe they're starting. I know they're rolling out like the iPad and stuff, but that was before.
Oh, so you can get like if you're in like regular county jail, you can get yourself your hands.
I know, like New York City. I was reading about like all the inmates have PlayStations or something. Because if you think about it, brings down violence
for sure.
You give them something
in
to do.
Some respects. It only ever elevated violence in my home with my older brother Steve and now my friend Giani, where there is times where like me and G will play like UFC, like we'll do like a best of 3 for the title. One of us, it dampens the friendship for sure. Obviously, it's like all fun and games, but like, dude, we go to bed sometimes, and I'm like, dude, you're not the guy I thought you were. Like, you're a coward because you can do little cheat things, and just like
we would do screen cheating too when you play on the same screen.
Yeah, and you're like, man, you're not the guy I thought you were, man. You're a spineless coward. I went to war with you. I've partied with you, and you're a coward, man. And
I miss the days of living with like a roommate. Like I hated it because
do you live alone now?
I live alone now. I have a studio, but I hated it when like there's financial shit, when someone doesn't pay this and that, or they have people over.
Yeah, of course.
Like during COVID, we had like, it was me and 2 of my best friends, and it was perfect. We had a townhouse, but I had, at that point, I was working at Whole Foods, so I had to be up at 5 a.m. They had no jobs. They were throwing bangers. If I lived with them now, it would have been a blast because of my lifestyle now. Just like with the freedom that I could do what I do now. But back then, like I was in a different mindset. And that's when you outgrow people too and stuff. Like my life completely changed going from a 9 to 5 to this lifestyle. Now it's so different. Like to me, in my old lifestyle, you would never be in LA on like a Wednesday
for sure,
or a Tuesday or whatever. You know, that's like a vacation, 100%. A weekend type thing. Now it's just like it's casual, fly in, fly out, and do this.
Well, I think that's also why. Because I've had roommates my entire time in LA. And I always end up not on the friendliest terms with them when we decide to move out, as you're kind of, because I have to be up at 5, you're partying, or vice versa. That's why I think from the living together with, it's me, G, and his little brother, our buddy Alex Padilla, and our other buddy Andrew Queso, and we all kind of have not frivolous lifestyles, but we all kind of have control over our day to day. And we all don't need roommates. If any individual one of us went to go out and have our own place, like it's well within our financial means, but we're all kind of choosing to and I think that's the difference, is that when you can choose to live with your boys versus you're kind of in a situation where financially this makes sense and I have this job and blah, blah, that's when things get weird, because then you feel like people are stepping on your path to keep going and whatever the case is. But
yeah, I've always lived with a roommate because I had to.
Yeah, me too. When I first got to LA, like it was either roommate or I'm homeless.
Yeah, now I'm, like I have my own studio. Like I'll get probably a 1-bedroom when this lease is up, because I like the idea of having like a separate kitchen and living space and stuff.
But I like. You're right. That is nice. I fuck with the studio so hard because I'm paranoid, bro. I'm paranoid. I'm like, there's ghosts in here, man.
Yes, I can't sleep with the door.
Dude, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. There's someone out there right now.
The studio's good for that. You're right.
I was in Peru for 6 months. I spent a fair amount of time in Peru. And I had this big, beautiful, like, penthouse. And I felt like the coolest dude ever. I'm like, man, that's right. And, like, Peru, it's like American dollar goes such a long way. Yeah. I was scared shitless. I'm like, get me the fuck out of here, man. Like, it was a fantastic, beautiful place. I was in a safe city. But I would hear, like, a creak and be like, oh, there's a ghost. For sure coming to kill me. For sure I'm dying very soon in this beautiful apartment here. But I fuck with the studio. And then the house that we have now, it's a shame you're only here. It's a shame you're only here, till tomorrow, right?
Yeah. I got to see that house. Dude, I'm coming back in a few weeks. So
are you coming back for
that filming thing? So I'll be. Gianni said, "Well, I'll go grab dinner or something one night."
And we're a little bit of ways now. Where are you? We're in Calabasas.
Oh, that's not that far. I'm going to Calabasas. I'm going to Malibu tomorrow morning to see my cousins.
Okay, so Malibu and Calabasas, that kind of like intertwine in some weird west.
Yeah, no, I've been to Calabasas. Oh, so you got Gianni's trying to fuck Kim Kardashian.
I didn't say that.
You guys
I'm sure he'd like to, man. What are we
you guys are spying on the Jenners out there. I know what you guys are doing.
And we lived in a beautiful apartment complex previous to this, because it's just easy. Apartments are easy, man. Yeah. There's no upkeep. Something goes wrong, you just put in a little request, and we all value that. But the space and privacy you get with like, renting or owning a home is just.
Do you have a pool?
Second, then we don't have a pool, man. Wow. We sacrificed in the pool, which I do. And again, when we moved, I was very much against it. Yeah. I'm like, you idiots. You know how this house, it's a big old house in Calabasas. I'm like, you idiots. You know how much upkeep this house is going to be? We had someone, we were cleaning today, and it was disgusting, and nothing even happened. I'm like, do you not see all the dust and clutter? And I'm like, this is your bed, y'all. You live in, you sleep in and live it. But I will say this, I've been very happy since I've been there. But I was very keen to them saying, like, this is not going to be a walk in the park. And I think that's also another thing, living with roommates. Yeah. If we're 5 dudes, like, things get real unneat real quick.
Yeah, you guys got where you're, it's like prison, man.
Yeah, dude. And then it is like prison because it's testosterone and we're all like elbowing each other to get positioned.
Do you guys have like a cleaning schedule too of like who cleans?
Are you kidding me? What are you?
That's what they had. Dude, in prison, like you have 12-man bunks and it's each person's day to clean the floor, and you can outsource it to someone else that does the cleaning. You pay, but like each day you're responsible for it getting cleaned.
I wouldn't mind that job in prison, actually.
To be the cleaner?
Yeah, it's kind of like...
you get like a couple packs of fish.
Yeah, I take it now. I'm so curious. Is a cigarette trading is that like a big currency thing, or is that just blown up in cinema?
Not really for currency. It's blown up in cinema, but now it's different because they banned cigarettes in the feds. In the state, it might be different, but in the feds,
so you can't smoke a cigarette in your cell.
No,
never.
Not legally. People do it, and they'll light it with the batteries and stuff. In the state, I think you can, but in the feds, you can't anymore.
Okay.
You used to.
Okay.
But packs of cigarettes. I sold cigarettes before.
Sick.
So what you would do is like you'd get the carton. So that you would get, when we were at the camp, you'd get a carton of cigarettes for like $180, but each pack you could sell for $20 at the time. So you're doubling your money on a thing.
And does money go a long way in prison? Like does $3 go a long way, or is it like $3?
It depends. I mean, now inflation affects prison too, because like a bag of Doritos back then was like $3.50 on the street, and then they were selling for $7.
Wow.
You know, like the little MP3 players would sell for like 120, but then you have cell phone. It depends on what it is. Cell phones like would retail at the camps for $400, and you could buy those for like $50 on the street. Yeah. In the lows and the mediums, they're thousands.
So inflation hits jail hard.
Oh, absolutely. When inflation happens, guards, lockdowns, everything. It's all prison economics. It just makes for an
unhappy world, man.
Yeah.
No one likes more expensive shit, dude.
Dude, it is crazy, man. It really is. But Brandon, thank you so much, man. This is a great conversation.
I'm coming back. You're back in 3. I'm coming back, motherfuckers. Yeah. I'm coming back on the pod.
Dude, I gotta have you and Giani together.
Yeah, you got to have the little
sit there and talk, because he wanted to ask me a bunch of prison questions.
And I was like thinking, I was driving, like, man, I'm curious, man. I want to know about
fucking we could do it. You guys can interview me. That would be pretty funny.
We're down. Speaking on behalf of both of us.
Well, no, he already said he would. So,
Cool.
So we should do that. And we got to keep hanging out and stuff.
Definitely do. I mean, we're going to go get dinner.
Yeah.
But next time you motherfuckers are back in LA, you got to come to the crib.
Yeah, no, I'm coming midweek. How far is Burbank from you guys?
20 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool.
With no traffic, 20 minutes. Cool. With traffic.
That's where I'm going to be for filming, so I'll come out. I have it in my schedule.
Congratulations on the show, dude.
It's just a little, I'm in one episode.
Don't be modest here, motherfucker.
No,
You're a star.
They're doing like a prison series, so I'm in it. But we are we're working on like a book, and hopefully we have some pitches going.
That is.
And then I can tell Giani he's got to play me in the movie. He's got to get some tats.
That'd be sick, actually.
I think Giani would be good for it.
I honestly don't think it's that far of a stretch either.
No, he could pull it off.
Yeah, if you dye his hair a little bit darker.
I think he could do something. I always said Miles Teller, but Miles Teller's
we're gonna give you an imaginary brother, older, bigger brother. I'm gonna play that role, and you can't cut me out of it.
Okay, no. If I land a big series, that's a package. I'm gonna say, listen,
all right,
these are my boys.
It's on camera.
No, 100%. I like you guys, man. You got to do it.
We like you too, man.
So.
And I full-heartedly meant that when we met with you guys for dinner. It was so refreshing, because there's a lot of dickheads in LA. And to meet genuine people is oftentimes rare, man. And it was dope, man.